days where like literally technology just does not want to work for you? Are you interested in inhaling asbestos or developing mesothelioma? Mesothelioma? I'll go anywhere that accepts me. Hey guys! So today I'm here to help you guys with one of the things that was probably the hardest part for me when applying to dental schools, which was picking which dental schools to apply to. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal because the thought of that never really like crossed my head when I was in the application process until it was time to pick schools. And then I realized I have no idea what I'm doing because there are 66 dental schools in the US right now. There are so many different options. And I remember distinctively thinking when I was a pre-dental student just being like, I'll go anywhere that accepts me. I was just happy to be accepted anywhere. So it was kind of daunting to think like, okay, which schools should I be applying to and all that. So I'm gonna help you guys narrow down your list today. Now this differs from person to person, of course, so I'm just going to go over the factors that were most important and kind of go through what I did. And these are things that you should consider when looking into what schools you want to apply to. So number one, just gotta say it, cost. Hi, yeah, hello? Hi, yeah, so I was just wondering, so I just got accepted to dental school. Yeah, not a big deal or anything, kind of got a perfect DAT score. Anyways, how much is that gonna be? Okay, ma'am, there is a tuition fee, and then a materials fee, and then a technology fee, and then a fee for breathing our air, of course. Not to mention there's another fee if you want to make your Waco picture into your Facebook profile picture. Cost is arguably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, when you're looking into where to apply to dental school, because that is what you're giving up in order to go to dental school. Yes, it's a great experience, you're investing in your education, yada yada yada, because you will be very poor for a very long time. But at the end of the day, money is what you're giving up, and time, which equals money. So really consider this. Try to get the best bang for your buck. When I was a pre-dental student, I was kind of just like, yeah, cost is super important, but it never really hit me until, again, I was in the stage of choosing which schools to apply to. A couple things to keep in mind. One, public schools are obviously going to be a lot cheaper than private schools. And number two is that if you go to the different schools' websites, they have usually a breakdown on the financial aid page, and they'll break down everything from like tuition to cost of living to books and supplies to insurance. Like there are so many technology fees, which for some reason we have them. There are a lot of different things that go into the cost of how much it's going to cost to go to school, and it's not just tuition. That's another thing, cost of living. Are you going to live in a city or a rural area? How much is the rent gonna cost you around there? Hi, yeah, so I am a new dental student in the neighborhood. Yeah, no, not a big deal or anything. Kinda gonna be a doctor. Yeah, so anyways, what are the most affordable options that you guys have? Yeah, so we have a number of affordable options here at Luxury Apartments Incorporated. So it looks like the cost of your most affordable option here would be your entire life savings and your firstborn child. Are there any other cheaper options than that? Okay, let's see. I just have a couple questions for you here. Do you mind living with rats? Are you interested in inhaling asbestos or developing mesothelioma? Mesothelioma? Are there any organs that you would like to sell, not limited to kidneys, lungs, heart? Are you thinking of getting a job? Can you work in that area, and do you think you can work in dental school? How far will you be living from school? Will you have to commute? If so, will you have to shell out money for public transportation? Are you gonna get a car? There's just a lot of different things to factor in terms of cost. And that would be a huge factor, I personally think, in determining where to apply to school. Next is location. So ask yourselves these questions. Are you willing to go farther from home? Do you wanna live far from home? Are you willing to live farther from home if it's cheaper? Are you willing to save money? Can you live at home if you go to a school that happens to be close to your home? Would you prefer to live at home for any reason? Also consider this, are you a city person? Do you want to live in the city? Do you want to try out the city for a little bit? Living somewhere more rural. Keep in mind that the location of where you go to dental school will also likely determine the patient population that you're working with, as a third and fourth year as a 3rd and 4th year dental student in clinic. So for example, I was super excited, and one of the reasons why I loved Tufts so much was because I knew that it was in the heart of Chinatown in Boston, and it's always been my dream ever since being a little kid to be able to treat other Chinese patients, be able to speak in Chinese. That's just something that really resonates with me, and so of course that's kind of what sold me in some aspects to Tufts. So I really need to brush up on my Chinese, yes, but I have a couple years to work on that. So now this is what I like to call the personalized stuff. So this might not apply to you, but these were things that I thought were important when applying to school, and I think depending on what you want from your career, you might think they're important too. So first for me, diversity was huge. Guys, I grew up in like one of the smallest towns ever. I had like no diversity. I was usually one of like the only Asian people in my class. So I kind of like grew up wanting that diversity. And I would look at like all my friends that like lived in California, and there were like so many Asian people there, and I was always so jealous of the different cultures and people that they got to meet out there. Also in pharmacy school, I definitely didn't have a lot of diversity either, so coming to Tufts has been absolutely amazing because I feel like I've already met so many people of so many different backgrounds. Black, Asian, different types of religions, different backgrounds. They came international. So cool to finally feel like I'm like really meeting like a proper representation of the world. Not to toot our own horn or anything, but my class at Tufts is actually the most diverse dental class in the nation, which is pretty cool. I believe it. That's one of the reasons why I chose Tufts, was because I loved how much they value diversity. If you go on everyone's web pages of the schools, they'll list like their values as a school, and so I definitely looked for schools that listed specifically that they embraced diversity, supported it, had programs in place to support that, things like that. Next, keep in mind, do you want to specialize? And if so, go onto the different schools' websites of schools that you're considering applying to, and then from there look at, do they have pretty good match rates for their students? Do they, usually send students off to specialize? That was a really loud clap. Do they have good specializing programs at that school? Because that's also a huge plus in being able to match after. Here's the thing though, I get it, because you probably won't know if you want to specialize and what you want to specialize in, if that, until later on in your dental school career. But if you're one of those people where it's straight out of the gun, like you know that you do want to specialize or don't want to specialize, then that's something to consider. Because schools kind of differ on whether or not they really push students into specializing, or whether or not they just focus on producing really good general dentists. Again, like I said, the schools will have stats for that on their website. I know this sounds really repetitive, but what I'm basically telling you is go to the school's websites and research about them. Oh, speaking of research, are you guys interested in research? Does the school have a lot of good funding for research? You can look this up on their website. Do they have research departments in areas that you're really interested in? Or like, is the school really well known for one area of research? Next is volunteer involvement. And bite down, tap, 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 grind side to side. Does the school have programs in place already that support volunteering in different areas that you're interested? So like maybe homeless shelters, prisons, nursing homes, elementary schools. This is really up to you and what you're interested in and what you want to go into, but that's something to consider. For example, I really liked how all the schools in Boston had a lot of good programs with homeless shelters because we were in the city. And I also liked, again, how Tufts had a lot of volunteer opportunities within the Asian American community. Finally, I saved the best for last because this is probably what everyone thinks of first when they think of how to choose dental schools, which is going off of your GPA and your DAT, which is totally fine because that's basically what I did. So what most people do is they just Google, average DAT and GPA scores for all the different dental schools, and then they look at that list, and then from there they decide where they could possibly get into and fit. I left this at the end just because personally I think that at the end of the day, averages are just averages. I don't think your chances of getting into a school are completely out the window just because your average DAT score is slightly less than their average, especially if you have things like a killer GPA and great extracurricular activities or shadowing. So you are like a whole package. Excuse this TED Talk. You are a whole package. You have so much to offer, and you're more than just a GPA or DAT score, and schools know that. They're not just looking for robots that just fit certain criteria. So for the most part, a lot of schools do have a holistic view and will look at your other extracurriculars, your interest, your experience, things like that. I'm not saying all schools do, but I'm just saying don't base the only reason why you apply to schools off of GPA and DAT, because there's so much more to your life at school than that. You have to look at, do you think that you would be a good member of the school? Do you think that you would fit in and love it? Are you interested in being a member of this community as much as they're interested in having you? These are all things to consider, so it's not just clear cut like what your average fits into. But it is a big factor, so definitely keep that in mind when you're choosing which schools to apply to. So basically when I was applying to schools, I just made a big list of schools in the area that I wanted to apply to because I knew that I kind of wanted to stay close to home. Then I wrote down all the different schools. I wrote down things like location, cost, then DAT and GPA score. And then from there on, then I filled in details like the diversity, like the volunteering that I liked, research that I was interested in. Now, I know that this is really overwhelming probably for you guys because like up until this point, it was like you kind of knew what you had to do and you just did it. Like you knew you had to take the DAT, you knew you needed a certain GPA and certain amount of hours, but now this is the first time in your application where you really have like a choice. So that's exciting, but I get that it's also scary because you have so many options that you have to choose from. So hopefully this video helped you guys out and you have a better idea of what you should consider when you're applying to dental schools and which schools to choose from. The decision is daunting, but trust me, if I can get through all of this and make this list, and I made it while I was in pharmacy school too. I didn't have to sit down for weeks and work on this. This was just something that I worked on at night after coming home from school and stuff like that. But anyways, like I was saying, if I can do it, then you can totally do it too, and I believe in you guys. So yeah, best of luck. Let me know if you have any more questions down below, and let me know other types of videos that you want to see from me. I'll see you guys later.